Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of Small Scale Reflections on a Great House, a poem by A.K. Ramanujan. A.K. Ramanujan tells about the nostalgic poem about a great house that was actually haunting his childhood. It was first published in his second volume of poems entitled Relations. In this poem, he recalls the family house where things that came into the house never at all went out. He says that sometimes even wandering cows will come into the house and they'll become a part of it. They will give the cow some name and they will mate the cow with the bull so that the cow will become pregnant. And since this will be like the small children will be stopped from seeing this, they will be asked to stay inside, but the young girls will hide behind the windows and they'll manage to look at what was going on. And he also presents an unusual account of the books in the library which were brought in the house but were never read or returned to the library. They'll only remain in the house. And silverfish would begin to lay a row of eggs in the ledgers for fines, just like it does in the old man's office room. The neighbors who celebrate wedding anniversaries of some deity all night will distribute oily sweets in the plates, and these plates will never be returned. These plates will stay in the house like the servants, gramophones, and even the disease like epilepsy which ran in the family. Sons-in-laws who came to see their mothers-in-law or fathers-in-law stayed in the house and never left the house. Instead, they were asked by their mothers-in-laws to check the domestic accounts or by the fathers-in-law to check the office accounts. Or they will be staying there to teach arithmetic to the daughters of their brothers-in-law. And women who came as wives never went back. They had become accustomed to witness the monsoons beating against the banana trees growing outside. There was also another category of things which went out but which always returned to the great house. For instance, the bales of cotton were shipped off to Manchester in the UK and returned as packages of cloth. The manufacturers of the cloth mills attached the long bills of expenses with the packages of cloth. The male members of the family used the cloth in the packages as crayon cloth if it was a coarse cloth, or if it was a very fine and smooth cloth, they used them as night dresses. Letters which were also posted by the members of the family found their way back to the house because they were never delivered or were redirected to different houses and then came back to the house with many red ink marks on them. Even ideas left the house and came back to the house in the form of rumors. The visitors who were having conversations with the members of the family of the house carried out the ideas and communicated them to others in the form of rumors. And these rumors were then brought back to the house by other visitors who did not know that these rumors were actually started only from this house. Like the uncle might have said that the content of some book written by Plotinus pertained to what some conqueror like Alexander the Great had looted from the territory which lay between two rivers and which was a breeding place for mosquitoes causing malaria. Even this incident is very interesting, where a beggar once came in with a violin to play a prostitute song, which the cook heard and started singing all the time in the background in his harsh voice. The daughters of this house were married and sent to their husband's house, but they could not live with their husbands for longer and returned to this house. Sons of the house who ran away also came back with their own children. And these grandsons performed various services for elders in the family, like reciting the verses of Sanskrit, and they tried to please the family by bringing betel nuts for the uncles. And these visiting uncles had many anecdotes to tell these children about their fathers and ancestors. Sometimes the visitors brought a vessel full of water from the river of Ganga and sprinkled upon the old man who was about to die. The poet describes a son who had run away and returned as a corpse. The corpse had been half eaten in the Sahara or the Arabian desert by the foxes or other wild animals of the desert. This worst incident happened in the year 1943. Many years later, a nephew of the family left this house to join army. He participated in many battles fought on the border. He showed courage and bravery in the war and he won many laurels, but in a very fearful battle he was killed. He ultimately returned to the great house in the form of corpse. His corpse was brought in plane, train, and military truck. When his dead body arrived at the house, it was a good afternoon which encouraged a chat. But that particular afternoon was converted into a sorrowful noon because every member of the family drowned in sorrow. Now let's read the poem. Sometimes I think that nothing that ever came into this house goes out. Things that come in every day to lose themselves among other things lost long ago, among other things lost long ago. That is, whatever came inside becomes a part of the family and it will mingle with all those things which came before it and was still in the house. Lame wandering cows from Norway had been known to be tethered, given a name, encouraged to get pregnant in the broad daylight of the street under the elder supervision, the girls hiding behind windows with holes in them. Unread library books usually mature in 2 weeks and begin to lay a row of little eggs in the ledgers for fines, as silverfish in the old man's office room bred dynasties among long legal words in the succulence of Victorian parchment. Neighbors' dishes brought up with the greasy sweets they made all night before yesterday for the wedding anniversary of a god never leave the house they enter. Like the servants, the phonographs, the epilepsies in the blood, sons-in-law who quite forgot their mothers but stayed to check accounts or teach arithmetic to nieces, or the women who come as wives from houses open on one side to rising suns, on another to the setting, accustomed to wait and to yield to monsoons in the mountains calendar, beating through the hanging banana leaves. And also anything that goes out will come back, processed and often with long bills attached, like the hooped bales of cotton shipped off to invisible Manchesters and brought back milled and folded for a price, cloth for our days, middle class lions, and muslin for our richer nights. Letters mailed have a way of finding their way back with many redirections to wrong addresses and red ink marks earned in Tiruvalla and Silcote. The ideas behave like rumors once casually mentioned somewhere. They come back to the door as prodigies born to prodigal fathers with eyes that vaguely look like our own. Like what Uncle said the other day, that every Plotinus we read is what some Alexander looted between the malarial rivers. A beggar once came with a violin to croak out a prostitute's song that our voiceless cooks sang all the time in a backyard. Nothing stays out. Daughters get married to short lived idiots. Sons who run away come back in grandchildren who recite Sanskrit to approving old men, or bring betel nuts for visiting uncles who keep them gaping with anecdotes of unseen fathers, or to bring Ganga's water in a copper pot for the last of the dying ancestors' rattle in the throat. And though many times from every way, recently only twice, once in 1943, from as far as the Sahara, half nabbed by desert foxes, and lately from somewhere in the north, a nephew with strips on his shoulder was called. An incident on the border and was brought back in plane and train and military truck even before the telegrams reached on a perfectly good chatty afternoon. And here ends the poem. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box, like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.